Hey everybody, this is Josh Runquist here, and it is time for the Heavy Debriefings podcast, episode 15. Yes, people did not think it was going to make it this long. I'm amazed our relationship has even made it this long. But thankfully, I am with the mistress herself, listening to everything from Evergrey to Exposé. It is the Metal Faerie.
Hello.
Yes, we're trying that out, and I think it went over pretty well. But how are you doing right now?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm a little tuckered out, but that's okay. We had some Halloween fun over the past few days, and looking forward to a week ahead.
Yes, and rather than giving away everything that's going to be on the show, or you could just look at the description and the timestamps below.
Yes.
Let's just get right into it. Just like the YouTuber that broke his leg, getting right into it. Yeah, we had some Halloween heaven and hell over the past week.
We did.
Let's start with the heaven because that's chronologically right.
Yeah.
A few days back, we decided to go on a little stroll in a neighboring town, and we looked at a bunch of really cool Halloween decorations in the front lawns and back lawns of some people's houses.
Yeah, I mean, we've always been a fan of kind of the winter time around Christmas, going and looking at a lot of the spectacular Christmas decorations in the area. And I've always known people do Halloween decorations too, but I've never really heard of like anything official being set up. But a neighboring town to us has like an official thing for charity where families can sign up and kind of be on this Halloween Havoc is what it's called, tour of the town. And
yes, Sting, Vader, Lex Luger,
they're all there.
The Dungeon of Doom, everybody was there.
Yeah. No, it has nothing to do with wrestling, unfortunately. But if you go through the city website, they provide you like a map of where all the houses are, and you can just, take a little drive around and kind of check out some of the crazy decorations that people have. And it was really fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Two things that we really noticed are in vogue to continue on with the 90s girl bands.
Yes.
Dragons.
Yeah, there's a lot of dragons.
There was a lot of dragons. Really cool looking dragons,
absolutely,
too.
Absolutely.
And also a ton of Jack Skellington.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it just keeps getting more popular every year, The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is great because I like it, but
And you were against it for so very long.
I never watched it for so long.
Until you actually watched it.
Because, I just never had seen it for a long time, but then when the popularity hit with, the Hot Topic crowd and stuff, and it's like, oh, just rolling my eyes at the idea of watching it, but I enjoy it, though. It's a cute movie,
It's a very cute movie. Zero is adorable.
He is adorable. But, yeah. It's not, my favorite movie by any stretch, but it's enjoyable.
Well, you have some Nightmare Before Christmas stuff.
A few things, yeah.
Yeah, but, you don't go overboard on it. I never really see you go overboard on anything, which I truly appreciate.
Yeah, I think my biggest collection would be Crow stuff, which that I will not change.
Nor should you.
Yes.
And of course, I have my stuff with The Simpsons and everything.
Oh, yes.
Which I will not change either.
No. But then fast forwarding a day, it was just a day later, or 2 days later, whatever. Anyways, yesterday morning, we decided to venture out to Minnesota's largest candy store.
Yes, this is actually a pretty cool attraction.
It is.
It's in an old barn type
Yes.
setup where, but they redesigned it in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really cool stuff that goes on there, like a lot of attraction stuff that goes on there. They have the Doctor Who telephone booth in there. They have animatronics that play different candy type songs.
Yeah.
They have a Frozen section, not just cooling foods and treats and stuff like that, but I mean the Disney franchise Frozen. They have some cool stuff in there, and they also have a superhero section where they mix all the different DC and Marvel characters combined, which a nerd like me does not appreciate. But honestly, it does look really cool. They have a giant Hulkbuster Iron Man that's taller than I am, which is a rare feat. They have a gigantic Hulk. They have a whole bunch of really cool stuff in there.
It's a cool place.
And if you love taffy, they have every flavor of taffy under the sun.
Yeah, they have all kinds of candy. They're an apple farm and pumpkin farm as well, so they have all that kind of stuff. They also have a large variety of sodas and stuff like that, off the wall kind of things. And
although we live closer to Minnesota's largest soda shop,
yes,
which we've never actually taken a venture into, despite it being one town over.
Yeah,
we should do that sometime.
We should.
But this all came at a price, didn't it?
Well,
and I don't mean just the expensive price either.
Well, and we have been there before, but it's been quite a few years.
Like 6 years?
Yeah, something like that. And I don't know, just crazy me thinking it's midday on a Friday. You know, yes, it's getting closer to the weekend, but I thought it wouldn't be as busy as on a weekend. Oh, no, we were wrong. And
wrong.
I have learned that apparently this was MEA week for kids, so that's why a lot of kids were off, I think.
Oh.
So bad on us for not noticing that ahead of time, but it was insane. It was so busy. I feel like the selection was a little different this time too. Don't get me wrong, they still have a ton of stuff, but a few of the things we were kind of hoping to look for weren't there anymore.
Yeah, your blue mints were not there.
I know there's these,
unless they were out of stock.
Maybe. Yeah, last time there was these little blue square mints that were so good, but they didn't have those.
They did have my root beer mints though.
Root beer barrels, yeah.
Yeah, the root beer barrels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we got some good stuff, we did, but it was just so chaotic, and I just realized how much I really just don't like people.
Yeah, especially, I kind of feel hypocritical right now.
Yeah.
Because we don't go to shows because of how many people are there,
Yeah.
but yet we were lined up like cattle or
Yeah.
sardines.
Yeah.
Going in line to get candy, so, you know, it's kind of coloring.
Well, the thing is, though, like, you don't even realize how many people it is till you get in and kind of get already, like, in the situation, and then you're like, well, crumb, I'm here, let's just get our stuff and get done, which we did try to get done as fast as possible, but, yeah. And then outside, there was bugs everywhere, which is not a thing for a girl like me who does not like the outdoors.
Now, one thing to keep in mind here when it comes to that,
Yeah.
they have a whole bunch of vegetables outside.
Yes.
But they also have pumpkins wrapped around the entire building
Yes.
for sale. Mm-hmm. And this is a huge, monstrous building.
Yes.
And there's pumpkins upon pumpkins everywhere.
Yes.
So every type of bug that you could think of is out there because they don't want to put pesticides on pumpkins that they're trying to sell.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's just, yeah, if you don't like bugs, if you're a city gal or guy, you know, it's just like, it's not really the best situation to be in when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's cool to look at once.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see the prices and how much they've jacked up over the last 6 years and
Yeah.
all the people that are there. And if we ever do it again, which we're probably not going to, but if we
No.
ever do it again, let's do it on a week where the kids don't have off from school.
And go like first thing in the morning.
Yes.
Plan wisely if you do decide to go.
Yeah, because I'm sure we did miss out on a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
we would have enjoyed, but I know I can speak for myself when I said that I was scared poopless. My anxiety was rampant. I was sweating profusely due to the fear.
Yes.
I actually had to go to the bathroom. I hardly even had to go to the bathroom, but I was hyperventilating in there.
Yeah.
Just because of how nervous I was to be around people, and especially with us who really took the pandemic very, very seriously, and still do to this day because we
Yes.
don't want to get sick.
Yes.
I'm fat and I am diabetic, so, you know, it's like I'm trying to avoid all that stuff altogether.
Yeah.
And also just being around people just scared the liver out of me, as you would say.
Yeah.
And
I also was a ball of anxiety. I was a mix of anxiety and also anger, just how like rude and disrespectful people are.
oh, yes. Yeah, there was one woman in particular, as we were leaving, pushed herself ahead of us, just like no regard whatever
Yeah.
to her surroundings. And
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
and there was plenty of people on their cell phones that were just like walking in front of people who
Yeah.
did not care who was around them.
And people like stopping to have chats and stuff. It's like, no, just keep the flow going. Keep the flow going. I mean, I purposely tried to keep us to ourselves as much as possible. Kind of stayed a little back ways from the people in front of us and tried to like avoid people, but it's hard. So definitely lesson learned, not going there again.
And besides, as we've probably learned in the world of technology that we live in right now,
Yeah.
not only is probably all of this stuff available on Amazon in some way, shape,
sure.
or form, it's
Yeah.
probably cheaper in some way, shape, or form.
Or some there's tons of candy stores online. So yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, it's just with that as well, you know, it's just like you go there for the attraction of it all.
Yeah.
You can go there and get candy and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
we did stock up for ourselves for Halloween.
Yeah.
But, I'd say just go there once if it intrigues you in Jordan, Minnesota.
Yeah.
But if not, you know, you might be doing yourself a favor.
Yeah. Again, like we got some good stuff and it was a pretty drive too. The trees are beautiful right now, but plan wisely. So moving on, we have a few news things we need to talk about.
The news!
So there's been a little bit of buzz this week around the band TesseracT and really tip culture in general.
Yes, if if you are a part of the metal culture and the metal scene,
yes,
you probably already know about this because everyone else covered this.
Yes.
As this took place on Monday, the day after the show went up. Yeah. So we couldn't cover it. So we're one of the last ones that are going to be covering this, probably, unless you do like a monthly thing or a bi-weekly thing. But to do it the shortest way possible, the drummer of TesseracT released a series of things on social media talking about how he does not like it how tips only go to the merch person on a tour, and decided to put up a QR code that would tip everyone that's in the crew, including the band themselves.
Right.
A few hours later, the band decided to disregard the QR code after all the backlash that they've gotten, and did not want to take away tips from the merch person.
Yes.
I feel like this was made out of frustration and was handled so severely wrong.
Yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things he pointed out was that there were fans who thought they were tipping the band when they were actually tipping the person who was, working the merch booth. And while I understand if people are actually coming forward saying, hey, I was bamboozled into thinking this, sure, address that. But in my experience, when you are tipping somebody who is doing a service for you. And so if you're going to the merch booth and buying something from the merch person, that would be tipping the person who is helping you make that purchase.
And if you want to say the band is doing a service that night, that's what the ticket is for.
Yes. Or I know some bands have separate tip jars sometimes, on stage or whatnot. That's different. But if it's there and unless it says otherwise, you assume it's for the person who is doing the service. So it's a little bit just a head scratcher, what they're thinking. And I know some of the members are not from the States originally. And I know tip culture is obviously very different here versus other countries. So I understand there could be a learning curve, but they have toured a lot though. So they've
toured a lot here.
Yeah, I can't imagine this is the first time they're seeing this unless they just don't ever
they're
look
all
around.
Originally from the UK,
Yeah.
and some of the members live here now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they know what tipping culture is.
Yeah.
So I don't buy that whatsoever.
Yeah, it just
Look, there's a reason why if you go to see a local band or a smaller band, they'll say tip your waitresses.
Yes.
There's a reason for that, because the waitresses are taking care of the entire audience, making sure that they get beverages or sometimes food.
Yeah.
Like when we saw Doro and there was a Wing Wednesday kind of thing going on.
Yes.
But, it's they're the ones out in the crowd dealing with everybody, just like a merch person is.
Yup.
You tip them. The people on stage, yeah, sometimes they have tip jars. I know my old bands did that once in a while. I never saw a dime of any of that, but that's besides the point. But, it's you're going to see them. If you want to tip them, there are ways to do that. And, you can put out a QR code if you want to tip the band. I don't think that's the issue.
No.
It's just that you threw the merch person under the bus.
Yeah, and
do that.
And you said that what the merch person is getting should be shared by everybody on tour because they're all working so hard. And yeah, sure they are, but
they're also getting paid.
They're also getting paid, and just like a waitress, if you don't want them to get tips or to have tips solely for themselves, then you need to pay them a livable wage.
Yeah, and of course that's a whole American thing. You know,
Yeah.
that's living the dream, living the American dream, is it not?
Right.
Working for $2.15 an hour plus tips.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so lovable. But we're not a political podcast, even though
No.
we do have our leanings.
Yes.
And they do come out once in a while. But what else has been going on in the news?
So Bandcamp has laid off half of their staff.
Yes, Epic Games a few years ago did buy Bandcamp, which is probably the biggest indie site for being able to buy albums digitally or physically as well. Like some bands do that. Sometimes it's right through Bandcamp you can do that. There's so many different ways to be able to go about it. But due to lost wages and Epic Games giving away free games every single week, they probably started losing losing their income, and they sold off Bandcamp to another company that I am forgetting the name of.
Yeah.
But they decided to cut half of the employees at Bandcamp, and there is a lot of worry in the music community that Bandcamp may not make it past 2024.
Yeah.
Have you ever used Bandcamp?
No. I think I may have clicked on a link once or twice, but then I pretty soon realized the band was not good and clicked off of it.
Well, that's the thing, and well, I mean, now you can hear that with all of the different streaming services, but Bandcamp definitely has its fair share of bad music, because anyone can put up their music at any time. You can charge whatever you want to. Some, it's just like a pay what you want.
Yeah.
Some, it has like full CD price. Some has some digital price. You get vinyl on there. There's so many different avenues that works out. And one Friday a month, all of the revenue goes directly to the band, which I imagine is going bye-bye now in 2024.
Yeah.
Because if half of the staff got laid off, I'm sure they're looking for ways to be able to keep making money, and if all the revenue is going completely to the band, you know, that's not going to the company.
Yeah.
And I use Bandcamp a lot. Like when I'm looking up bands I've never heard of before that might be new promos and stuff, a lot of bands do Bandcamp, and you can sometimes listen to the entire album through Bandcamp, but just clicking the buttons on there, and it gives me a good idea if it's worth checking out or not. Sometimes you download it, sometimes you buy the physical version, sometimes you only listen to it on Bandcamp, whatever the case is. But if it goes under, that's going to be a pretty dramatic hit to all the independent artists out there.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the music business is already a hard sell, what's going on now, but to see them lose something that really does help the artists a lot, that would just be quite devastating. Although, to flip the coin, you just said yourself you don't use Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Imagine how many people who only look at music as a passive thing, they would never use Bandcamp.
No.
They're using Spotify, they're using Apple Music,
Absolutely.
they're using YouTube Music, so... You know, it's kind of the devil you know thing. You might have to just go down those directions and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Because if you're trusting in independent companies, sometimes they can thrive, but then they get bought out by bigger companies, and then the whole thing goes down.
Yeah.
Which, as a video game nerd, I can tell you how many times great studios get bought up by bigger companies and then destroyed. Look at Volition in Saints Row.
Yes.
It just happened this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a hard thing for a lot, since there are so many musicians out there who do use Bandcamp, but just as kind of like a more commoner kind of viewpoint, like Bandcamp is not something that I've ever looked at as like a place to actually go and enjoy music. It's something that's just for bands that I've never heard of. Whereas like Spotify is where I would go to listen to music, and I'm not going to change that.
Yeah, and I use Spotify as well too. Like all the time when I'm putting lists together for my top 10 albums of the month, and then the top 100 of the year, which is already around this time next month, which is sorry, I have to get those out once in a while.
Yeah.
But again, like even when I use Bandcamp, it's only when I'm sitting in my office. I don't use it on my phone. There's no way to use it on my PS5 or Xbox.
Yeah.
I just don't use it like that.
Yeah.
And I know people have problems with Spotify.
Yeah.
With how little they charge.
Yup.
First of all, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
But second, that's every streaming platform.
Yes.
They're all terrible.
Yes.
When you say one's better than the other, you're talking about percentages of a penny. Which is realistically nothing.
Yeah.
All of them are bad. We either have to do away with all the streaming sites, which is not gonna happen anytime soon, or you're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Or continue to buy the physical media that you choose to do, or buying MP3s or whatever you choose to do. Of course, that's gonna help the bands out much, much more, but you're also talking about the entire population who can hear music for free, even if it's with ads, through a streaming site. And that is just much more convenient for a lot of people, and people love their convenience, so that's not going away until something different comes along.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in so many different aspects, we are at a point now in society where, with the exception of like the 1%, music or being a musical artist is not something you can really do as a career anymore. It's kind of almost always has to be a side project, unless you're doing something extra, like, you know, you have a studio you're producing, or you're doing session stuff, or whatever the case may be. Unless you have something else, like just being in a band, 99% of the time, it's not going to make ends meet for you.
Especially when you're in a metal band like we cover.
Absolutely. And, unfortunately, this is just another thing. I mean, it's been going this way for so long, with CDs and everything going away, and now Bandcamp, kind of going away in a way as well, or at least taking a step towards that. It's just going to continue to get harder because people want it to be easy for them, and they don't want to put out any more money than they have to because, look at society. Everything costs so much nowadays, so you don't even have that disposable income to use anymore, and then when you do, you don't want to spend it on that stuff when you can get it for free.
Yeah, just free with ads for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Of course, we pay for premium because, it's just that much more of a convenience, and we use it so much.
Yes.
Like, I also use it as work, so maybe I could use it as a tax write-off, but, just with all of that, it's just, there are ways of being able to support bands.
Yeah.
You can do everything from going to the shows, buying merch. Tip the merch person. Hintity, hint.
Hintity.
Buying the albums, listening to the music on streaming sites, because even if they aren't getting the percentages of pennies, the listens go up, which means more people will be able to check them out.
Exactly.
And of course, one of the biggest things, which, people tend to forget all the time, is word of mouth.
Yeah,
Talk about it on social media. Talk about it with your friends. Talk about it at shows.
Absolutely.
Just everywhere. Just get the word out about good music.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what everyone else should do for the music if you do care about it.
Agreed. Finally, up in the news, there has been some chatter this week about Netflix games having some kind of GTA game release.
Yeah. We were going to talk about this in the gaming section, but of course, a big game has kind of taken over the whole gaming section. But there's rumors of Take-Two Interactive, which owns Rockstar Games, talking to Netflix about potentially releasing some games through their mobile computer network kind of thing that they've been doing, which is kind of how you're playing some of your games through your phone, is through Netflix, right?
Yeah, a couple of the games I play are through Netflix.
Now, how would you consider the experience? Like, is it just like normal? Do you notice any problems with it?
So the two games I play are two of the dating simulator games, so it's not like super, high tech type of game. It's just kind of choose your own adventure type things. It's just kind of one screen at a time. It's not like movement or anything like that. So it's not much to be, described graphically. Outside of that, it really depends on who within there is making them, because one of them, like, they're both made by different people that from Netflix, like different companies, not within Netflix, but I don't know if they're like
gaming companies
hired on, whatever you want to call it.
Third-party developers.
Yeah, the one is great. The other one looks nice, but it's terrible. We'll get into that more under the gaming section when I talk about that game, but yeah, it just depends on what you choose.
Wouldn't you know it, gaming developers don't make the same games.
No, they don't.
Yeah. And again, to like the common people who just like want to check out music for free, and you can talk about the gaming subscriptions that are going on now.
Yeah.
Which is something we're going to have to talk about next month once Black Friday comes around, and
Yes.
Making some potentially hard decisions, at least on my end.
Yeah.
But, just like every developer is different. And, Netflix isn't known for their gaming, but they are trying to come up with stuff for, like, the common person to be able to play. They have WrestleQuest on there, which you still won't play, even though you could play it for free. But that's besides the point. What I think is going to happen with Rockstar and the Grand Theft Auto games is I think they might release some of the very basic Grand Theft Auto games on there. I think they might do, like, a Chinatown Wars. They might do Liberty City or Vice City Stories on there. Just really simple, small games on there. I don't think Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be a Netflix exclusive. Could you imagine? The only way you could play Grand Theft Auto 6 is on your phone through Netflix.
Oh boy.
That would not end well.
No,
I think it's just going to be something really, really basic that's going to be on there. Maybe some of the previous games in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll do like your own choose your own adventure Grand Theft Auto, like your dating simulators.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting strategy to go about it that way. And if you're working with Netflix for the games, why aren't you making a movie? Why aren't you making a TV show about Grand Theft Auto?
Well, maybe it's, a hint that it's going to go that way.
I would watch the hell out of that.
Unless it's anime. Don't make anime.
We don't need a Grand Theft Auto anime. We really, really don't.
We don't. But yeah, that's where my mind went automatically, is GTA of handhelds of the past that I've played, and it's going to be a way more simplified version, which could be fun, but it's not going to be something extraordinary.
It's not a Netflix seller.
No.
Not like a PS5 game I've been playing that we'll talk about later in the show.
Yes, that is accurate.
That is a system seller.
That is.
But with all that said, I think we covered a lot of the news right now, and I'm sure people would like to hear something different from us right now. So now we come to my favorite segment of the show, where the Metal Faerie really gets into her true feelings about 3 random songs that I pick out for her. She doesn't know what I'm going to pick ahead of time. It could be all stuff that she loves. It could be all stuff that she hates. And boy, do I have some fun with that coming up in a couple weeks. A little Freddy foreshadow for that for your birthday.
Yes.
But right now, let's see what happens in this round of musical roulette. So to start things off, I introduced you to the band Korea, which I showed you last year. You forgot, as it normally is, because you need to listen to bands in your own isolation.
Yes.
And usually on your weekend excursions
to
be able to really appreciate a band. But this was the song Mantle, who we did miss back in the beginning of the month, opening for Wolves in the Throne Room and Black Braid. What did you think?
Call me Natalie Imbruglia, because I am torn.
Torn? Ooh.
Like,
lying naked on the floor?
Not right now, no.
Okay.
But part of me likes it, like the mix of like the chaos with a clean kind of overlay over it. But then part of me, like the chaos just makes my anxiety go through the roof. Like just in listening to that little bit, I'm like on edge.
Really?
Yeah. And it doesn't always hit me like that, songs like that, because I like that kind of style sometimes, like the kind of mix of heavy craziness and, clean melody over it. But sometimes there's types of chaos that just kind of raise my anxiety. And maybe you want to be this all the time. Maybe it's more mood music for me. But in this moment, it raised the anxiety.
Well, we have had anxiety written last few weeks, and this coming week will be no exception for us.
Well, that is true.
So I can understand that if things are hitting you like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. For me, I do enjoy this band a lot.
Yeah.
I think sometimes they go a little too raw in the production. It has like that first wave, second wave black metal sound to it. And other times they have really clean production. And I could see how that might even mess with you without even thinking about it. Because, sometimes just that kind of production, you might hear things differently.
Yeah.
And that can induce some anxiety as well.
Totally.
It would have been fun to see them. But, we would have mainly been there for Black Braid. And I would have loved to have actually seen Wolves in the Throne Room instead of them canceling the show and playing in a cornfield in Iowa, which I will never let go. Next up, I went with one of my favorite songs of 2022, although not one of my favorite albums of 2022. It is from Greg Puciato, a former singer of the Dillinger Escape Plan, current backing vocals for Jerry Cantrell in his solo work, which is quite a transition. Also featuring a guest spot from Rebecca Myers of Code Orange with the song Lowered, easily the best song on the album, and last year you enjoyed it. How do you feel now in 2023?
I'll be honest, I don't remember the song at all. Vocally, I kind of like it. Like, yeah, they almost kind of have gothy voices in a way, and I like that. There's a hint of kind of, how do I describe this? Sometimes when people sing, just the way they sing makes it sound like they don't care about how they sing, and...
Morrissey.
Sure. And there's a hint of that to their voices. I'm not a fan of that piece, but I like the kind of the gothy vibe of it, though. Musically, it's okay. It's okay. It's not my favorite, but yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. And that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on who it is that's doing it.
Yeah.
But I think I know what you mean. And if you know what the Metal Faerie's talking about, let us know in the comments down below. Just so I can get some reassurance in my mind. And finally, talking about a newer album that just came out this month, and a band that really is near and dear to me for all of the topics that they cover is the band Svalbard. And the first track off their brand new album, it is the song Faking It, which, there's so many different ways that you could take that, but when you really pay attention to the lyrics, it's about faking being happy around other people, so they don't see how depressed and anxiety-filled that you really are.
Yeah.
And it's something that I can very, very much relate to. What about for you?
Yeah, so I'll start lyrically, because we were looking along at the lyrics when we were listening to it, and definitely love the lyrics. They are really great. Musically, I enjoy it. Yeah, I think it's pretty good musically. Vocally, I don't know that I'm a huge fan of her harsh vocals. I know you said she's sings clean vocals as well on some songs, so I'd have to listen to that more for that. But as far as this song, I'm not a huge fan of the harsh vocals, but I do love the lyrics, and the music are really nice too.
Well, I think, getting my tea and putting on my Professor Metal coat on here, I think the harsh vocals really work with this song because, like, it's a really good representation of, like, how it feels on the inside when you're trying to portray you being someone else.
Oh, believe me, I know all about that.
Well, that was the point I was trying to make. Like, I feel like the vocals really work with that. But I can understand that. And I think if you hear the songs where she's doing both,
yeah,
and I think there's like 1 or 2 songs that are just clean vocals on this album, I think you appreciate that more. I mean, we listened to this a few weeks back, and you were humming and doing your little singing along with like the vocal melodies and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So once you remember it, I think you'll have a little bit different feeling behind it. But spoiler for next week, this will be in my top 10 of October 2023. But I think it was a good way to round out everything for musical roulette this week. One with male vocals, one with both male and female vocals, and the third song being all female vocals.
Yes.
I thought it was a good way to wrap things around.
Absolutely. Okay, up next we are going to get into our first of 2 Halloween segments this week. First one being our top 10 horror movies of all time. So what was your kind of mindset going into this one?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about this. Like, what are the scariest horror movies? What are the most memorable horror movies? What are the ones that you have like a most emotional attachment towards?
Yeah.
For me, I go with the ones like, if I was to just pick out 10 movies I would want to watch over and over again, these are the ones that I would choose.
Yeah, I kind of had the same mindset. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could go with this. And it was hard because like my top 5, I kind of had already in mind long before this because they've been set, But then I got into the lower numbers. I'm like, well, there's so many that could be on here and stuff. But what I came to is ones that I like have watched repeatedly. Because if I can keep going back to it, that means it's something pretty special to me, So that's kind of where I went with it. I do have a couple honorable mentions at the end too, just for kind of newer ones that I haven't gone back to yet, but I feel like they could eventually work their way up.
Also, one thing I will say with mine is I tried to do 10 different horror movies, like very like different styles, different franchises, stuff like that, like kind of like a garden variety of horror here. So you're not gonna really get a sense of who I am as a horror fan here. You're gonna see all the different sides of what I enjoy in horror.
And I mean, mine went a little bit all over the place, but I didn't try to go for any like genre or different genres. I just picked the ones that are my favorites.
Well, I guess I kind of approach this the same way that when I do other top 10 lists, I try not to repeat any franchises.
Oh,
I try not to
sure.
do any things like that.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I didn't repeat any franchises. But outside of that, though, I didn't hold back anything.
Oh, fair enough.
So how about you get going? What's your number 10?
My number 10 is actually a movie that showed up on our Google TV not long before we started recording. It is from the Tales from the Crypt series.
Yes.
And it's my favorites of the 3 movies that they did, Bordello of Blood.
Very nice.
Besides the fact it has one of the Coreys in it. Besides the fact it has Dennis Miller before he became a hard right-wing Republican. It's Tales from the Crypt, which is one of my favorite IPs in horror.
Yes.
And this is just that perfect mix of vampires, campiness, and of course the Crypt Keeper showing up throughout the entire movie as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I just love everything about this movie. I've seen it so many times, like the TV version and the real version of it, which are completely different because they, there's only so many things that you can show on TV. It's just a really fun, campy 90s horror movie.
Yeah.
And one of the first times you ever stayed over with me, all the way a decade ago, I tried showing this to you, and you fell asleep within the first 15 minutes.
To be fair, I fall asleep very easily.
That is true. And also, to be fair, I fell asleep not long after you.
Yes.
That's also what happens when we weren't sitting on couches and we were just laying in my bed.
Yes.
Now, do you remember anything about Bordello of Blood?
Yeah. Tales from the Crypt. I mean, there's no losing with Tales from the Crypt, I feel like, so it's a good choice.
Fair enough. We'll have to watch it so you can actually see what it's like for the first time.
So my number 10 is Friday the 13th Part 2.
Part 2?
Part 2.
Wow.
Well, the first one is, his mom, whereas this is the first one with him killing. So yeah, I just
But it's
love
also
it.
before he got the hockey mask as well.
That is true. That
he
is
has
true.
the sack on his head.
That's true. That's true. And that is more iconic, obviously. But I just love the story with this one too. And I don't know. I've always enjoyed this one. This is one I'll always watch whenever I see it on. So yeah.
So with that, it is your favorites of the Friday the 13th movies.
Yes.
More than Jason X.
I mean,
when he's in space. Come on.
Well, that's not Friday the 13th. Or sorry.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry, I was thinking you said something else. Sorry.
Well, I said Jason X.
Yeah,
because
sorry.
A little tidbit for only the scholars out there will know this, but right around the end of the Friday the 13th movies, the franchise holders switched to a different movie company, and they can no longer call it Friday the 13th, so they started calling it Jason. So like Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X.
Yeah.
But it is still technically a part of the Friday the 13th series.
It is. Yeah, it is. Although technically it's not the name, so. But you're right. I mean, that one should be my number one, so.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll show up later in the list since you said it technically doesn't count.
Exactly. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Deathgasm.
Oh, yes.
A very metal horror movie, which has so many different kinds of metal references. Skullfist, the band, is all over this album with their best album, Chasing the Dream. Just a great movie about how metal can affect the world and bring on the apocalypse. And just a really fun New Zealand movie. And like we talked about last week or the week before, I can't remember which episode it is now, but if you've ever seen that meme with the girl dressing all cute for her date, and then there's the one right next to her dressed up in the black metal corpse paint, that's where the meme comes from.
Yes.
But there's so many great references and lines from this movie, and I really hope Deathgasm 2 Goremageddon does get all the funding it needs, because I need closure to this story.
Yes. No, I love Deathgasm. That is an excellent choice.
Well, thank you.
My number 9 is The Strangers.
Ooh.
Have you seen that one? I can't remember.
I haven't, but I heard that there's going to be sequels or prequels that are in the works right now.
Well, we should watch this one together, maybe this weekend. Is
that the one with Liv Tyler?
Yep, it's with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, who I love Scott Speedman.
This I haven't heard before.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was in Felicity, and then he was in the Underworld movies, so yeah.
All right, I understand now.
Yeah, but if you're not familiar with it, it's a movie where this couple is staying at this house, and there's some strangers that appear outside, and things happen from there. But it's one of those movies that it could happen to anyone. You never know who's lurking outside.
Oh, is that the one where it's like because you were home?
Yes.
Okay. I know about it then.
Yeah, but we're gonna watch it sometime.
All right. If we can watch Bordello of Blood, we can watch The Strangers. So
tonight, let's do it.
Depending if we want to watch the Sunday stuff.
Yes. But yeah, that's my number 9. Number 8.
My number 8 is the first horror movie from director Kevin Smith.
Oh.
And of course, he went on to make a couple other horror movies that are either love or hate with Tusk.
Oh, yeah.
Which I love Tusk and how
messed up
it is.
But yeah, it's great.
He also made Yoga Hosers, which is the only Kevin Smith movie I have yet to see.
Yeah, we have to see that still.
But I had to go with the first one, Red State.
Yes.
Which I didn't realize is the movie where Ralph Garman gets shot right through the face. But if you're not familiar with this movie, it has some comedy in there.
Yeah.
But it's meant to be like a straight up horror movie.
Yes.
And it's about like a West Baptist borough church that basically kidnaps 3 teenagers and it goes out of their way to torture and kill them. And the FBI gets involved to shut their compound down, and a lot of different stuff happens.
Yeah.
I never pictured a horror movie from Kevin Smith before this point. I never pictured this kind of horror movie from Kevin Smith. I mean, there's a lot of dialogue. Don't get me wrong. It's a Kevin Smith movie. There's a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
But you got so many great people in here. Michael Parks being the leader of this cult. You got John Goodman as the FBI agent. Of course, again, Ralph Garman getting shot right through the face.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many great tense moments in here. And I love this movie.
It is great. I'm so glad you made me watch it a while back. And yeah, it's terrifying, but so realistic at the same time. And yeah.
So, of the two horror movies that we have seen, which one do you prefer more, Tusk or Red State?
Red State.
Red State.
Like, I love Tusk, but it's so, like, messed up and, like, not realistic.
Horror movies are realistic? Since when?
To me, like...
You mean Jason being frozen for 500 years and ending up on a spaceship is realistic?
Yeah. No, but there are some movies that just hit me more because they are so realistic, and in this case, this one of those ones.
And of course, a topic that is very important in your life, the sociological aspects of this movie.
Absolutely, heavily.
It's just rich and full.
Yes.
And anyone who's never checked this out, even if you're not a Kevin Smith fan, check out Red State, and it might change your mind.
Absolutely. So my number 8 is Sleepaway Camp. Oh, he's doing the pose. Oh god, I love this movie. I love all the Sleepaway Camp movies, but the original is just the best. If you're not familiar with it, it's about these kids at camp and one of them has some issues, and we'll just go with that.
And a twist, unless you've been on the internet, you will never see coming.
Yes, that is absolutely true. But it's so campy.
Sleepaway Camp is campy.
It is. It's slasher. It's just perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
If you've never seen it and you love your slasher movies, you need to see at least the original Sleepaway Camp.
Yes.
The other two, I've seen a lot of people say that 2 and 3 are better, and it has a better villain who controls the role. Do you agree with that?
I can see that, because one, they're significantly younger. So, I mean, with that, it's just kind of innocence, and stuff. But, like, I think they're all gems. So, yeah.
That is quite fair.
What's your number 7?
My number 7 is the best Rob Zombie movie made.
Okay.
The first movie of this trilogy is my least favorite.
Right.
The third movie is actually one I consider to be very, very underrated.
Yeah,
and I understand
agree.
why a lot of people don't like it, because a main character died in the process of this movie. So they had to change a lot of things around and add a new character.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people gave it a fair shot.
I agree.
But the second movie is that perfect mix of a horror movie mixed with action thriller, hard comedy, and you can make the argument it should have just been the 2 movies with the ending of the movie, because when you think about how it works into the third movie, it makes absolutely no sense.
No.
But of course, I am talking about The Devil's Rejects.
Yes.
Anyone who thinks that Rob Zombie is a hack of a director, I will say you're kind of right. Love half your movies.
Right.
But this is the gem example of when he actually puts his effort into it, he can create one of the best movies. Not just in horror, but just in general. And it feels like a 3 from Hell kind of takes the same aspect of The Devil's Rejects, where it feels like it's 2 different movies that are put together.
Yeah.
The first half is like pure, unadulterated horror. And the second half is the Fireflies escaping.
Yeah.
Which I argue to say is the better of the 2. But all of that said, I just think it's that perfect culmination of everything. And the only other movie that kind of comes close to me is the first Halloween movie that he made. And the rest, well, besides 3 from Hell, the rest I can really do without.
Yeah.
But I will always enjoy The Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, I love the trilogy. I love all 3 of them, and excellent selection. My number 7 is Funny Games. You haven't seen that one either.
I know of it.
Yeah. So this one, without giving it away, it's a family.
Is there some funny games that happen?
There, in a way. There's a family, and 2 young men show up at their door. They think they're just kind of people who live nearby, and chaos kind of ensues, we'll just say. But yeah, it's another movie, kind of like The Strangers, where like you just never know who you're dealing with, and like complete madness can happen just by having an interaction with someone.
So is it kind of in the same tone as The Strangers? Or
a little bit, yeah.
Is it darker? Is it more brutal? Is it...
Depends. There's some humor to Funny Games. There's some humor in there.
So it kind of lives up to the title.
A little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, number 6.
Right on. All right, my number 6 is... I think it still counts, and I really, really struggle between this and a movie that came out a couple decades before it.
Okay.
I kind of consider these 2 in pair with each other because of the director of the movies, but I went with the one that I saw first. Even though I potentially like the first movie more, this one means much more to me. From director Mel Brooks, Dracula, Dead and Loving It. It is basically Leslie Nielsen as Count Dracula doing the entire original plot to the original Dracula. But of course, it is slapstick, it is funny. A lot of people say it's the worst Mel Brooks movie, which I can test to. I think it is very, very enjoyable, and I get just the stupid laughs out of it. I love what they do with Renfield. I love what they do just with basically all of it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's Leslie Nielsen, one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yeah.
Who may show up later in this list as well. I think you may know where I'm going with this, you may not. But you, this year, saw Dracula Dead and Loving It for the first time. And what did you think of it?
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. Not typically the type of humor I go towards, but I enjoyed it. And I'll let you have this one on this list.
Okay. Well, I was also thinking of Young Frankenstein as well.
Yeah.
Which is another movie that I showed you this year as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What did you think of Young Frankenstein?
Yeah, that was amusing as well. Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah. But this was the year I actually showed you some Mel Brooks movies, and I'm quite proud of myself for that.
Yes.
But I slapstick comedy from the 90s, and if you're of my generation, you'll get a kick out of it.
Mm-hmm. My number 6 is The Purge election year.
Oh, that one. Okay.
I love all the Purge movies.
Yes, you do.
I love them. Love them, because I think our society is only a step away from this.
Not even a step.
Not even a step. And I feel like this movie just hit it home so much with that. I mean, if you've seen it, you know what I mean. Like, it's our society. If you put the right people in the right places, this could happen. And it's terrifying.
Well, I think we can talk about premise because, I mean, it's all over the trailers and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the whole premise of the Purge series is that, murder and all these other things happen, it's against the law for 364 or sometimes 365 days a year. Mm-hmm. But for one night a year, for 12 hours,
yes,
everything's legal.
Yep.
Outside of nuclear war. Mm-hmm. And you can really see how civilization just collapses in those 12 hours. Mm-hmm. You can see the fake facades the rest of the year. You can see how people are truly who they are. Mm-hmm. And with election year, it is technically in canon the first of the Purge series. Like if you wanted to watch them in chronological order.
Well, there's the first.
The first Purge. Yeah. My apologies. Yeah, election year is the one where they're trying to get rid of the Purge.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. So again, like all of this starts to happen. Mm-hmm. If you know me and my generation, Bubba from the Bubblegum Shrimp Company in Forrest Gump, he is a major character in election year.
Yeah.
It's a good sense of comedy in there as well, but it's also terrifying to see just like the real aspects of how close we are to the demise of Western civilization.
Yeah. Well, and just how people use they paint it as this like way to better society, but really it's just a way to like in their minds get rid of like the lower class essentially, but then like even like upper class turn on each other. It's all kinds of craziness,
Yeah, no matter where you are on the financial or societal level, it hits hard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I love the series as well. Mm-hmm. I think they could continue it till the end of time.
Yeah.
And maybe they will, maybe they won't. The last movie kind of seemed like it might have been the end, but we'll have to see what happens.
I've heard rumors of another movie, and then there was a TV show too. I haven't watched that, but
we watched a couple episodes and then we dropped out.
We didn't keep up with it. Yeah.
Just like Chucky, we were gonna watch that and then we forgot to.
Yeah, I might watch some of these at some point, but we'll see. What's your number 5?
My number 5, I think might make your list.
Okay.
We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
But it is an A24 film that I thoroughly enjoy. I don't know if it's my favorite from this director. There's a movie that came out this year that might overtake it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to what I enjoy about international horror, this just hits the note.
Yeah.
And of course, it is one of the most brightly lit horror movies ever, Midsummer. Mm-hmm. Yes. Basically, these college kids have a friend from Sweden that they want to do a little documentary kind of thing on in different ways. And he invites them back to where his family lives to take a look at their culture. And within an hour sure of them being there, some things start to shift, and not for the best for the people involved. I'm trying not to give everything away, but it is my kind of horror where you cannot expect what's going to happen next, at least the first time that you see it. Although you can see the foreshadowing of how everything comes together when you watch it in subsequent watches, which is something that Ari Aster is very good at, especially with a movie like Beau is Afraid, which might be a horror movie too, but I didn't include it because I feel like this was a better example of horror.
Yeah.
But I love this movie. The ending is the perfect, good for her ending that you could ever get out of a horror movie. And maybe it made your list, maybe it didn't, but I thoroughly enjoy this one.
Yeah. My number 5 is Us.
Us?
Yes.
Ooh.
So, Jordan Peele, never been a fan of his comedy, but my goodness, can he do a good horror movie?
Have you ever given his comedy a chance, or is this like a Nightmare Before Christmas situation like we talked about earlier?
So not since any of his horror movies came out, but I know like back before that I saw some and I just never got into it. So I don't know, maybe if I tried it again. But anyways, I love all his movies, but Us is my favorite. It's just so, I don't want to give anything away with this either, but...
Well, do you want me to try to do it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, this family decides to go on a vacation.
Yes.
And they started, they're also with the dad's best friend is also nearby. And they vacay together every year.
Yeah.
And they started noticing some very strange happenings starting to happen. Things that it looks like it's them, but it could be not.
Yeah.
And some really graphic stuff starts to happen. Some real near-death stuff starts to happen. Some real death starts to happen. The best use of NWA ever used in a horror movie.
Absolutely.
Just everything that you could potentially want in a thriller horror.
Yes.
Because you don't really know what's going on until probably 3/4 of the way of the movie. But it all has connections to stuff that happened decades in the past.
Yeah. Well, and some stuff you don't know until the very last second of the movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of symbolism. When you rewatch it, you can see, like, kind of like what Ari Aster does. Jordan Peele also does this with his movies, too, where you can see a lot of things when you rewatch them, like how it foreshadows so many different things. And I love that because it has that replay value to it.
Absolutely.
This is probably the least talked about Jordan Peele movie, I think.
Possibly.
I mean, I've seen a lot more negative towards Nope.
Yeah.
And I've seen so much positive about Get Out. I never hear really anyone talk about Us.
Yeah, I love it though. It's so sociological. There's so many debates and discussions that can come from it, which is a piece of it I love. It's also very creepy. Just there's a lot of creepy scenes, but just the idea is creepy as well. And it's just it's so well put together. It's amazing.
And I honestly think people should check it. I think you should check out all 3 Jordan Peele horror movies so far.
Absolutely.
Maybe not all 3 of them are up for you or you'll be into.
Yeah.
But at least one of the 3 will, because they're 3 very different horror movies.
Yes.
And I think there's bound to be at least one of them that's like, you know what, I'm glad I watched that.
Absolutely.
And speaking of that, I have to go with the first one that Jordan Peele made coming up right now with Get Out.
Yes.
Which kind of brought me back into horror.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of like him-haw about it for so long. Like some of it I enjoyed from the past. I never really went out of my way to watch horror.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jordan Peele.
Yes.
For saving this relationship.
Yes, this is the one thing it lingered on. But when we actually watched Get Out, it rejuvenated my love of horror, and I haven't lost it since.
Good.
Like, I'm still really picky when it comes to like horror stuff. Like, I'm still not big into the ghost stuff. The possession movies, it has to be done right for me to enjoy them. But something like this, which almost the entire movie is realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one major twist that's very unrealistic, but the rest of it is just so real. With the sociological aspects of it, about how we treat people that are not us, the way that we treat outsiders, the class, wealth, everything that goes into it. It's done with the right kind of humor. Bradley Whitford, the father of the movie, is a national treasure. Whether he's doing Get Out, whether he's in Kong versus Godzilla, I mean, he's got incredible range for...
He does.
And of course, just the great greatest line. I would have elected him for a third term. He's the best president we ever had.
Right?
But there's just so many great moments. Bill from King of the Hill is in the movie as well too, as I think he's the grandfather in it. The big twist at the end. He's the one that's basically involved in some way, shape, or form with that. Yeah, that's Bill from King of the Hill. And the most satisfying ending to a movie.
Oh yeah.
I will always remember us being in absolute fear.
Yes.
At the end of the movie.
Yes.
And it's the only time I've ever been in a movie where everyone started clapping.
Yes.
When the true ending finally happened. Because everyone did not want it to go down the way that it seemed like it was going to go down.
Yeah.
But I love this movie. I love all three of them. I don't think there's a decline in his movie making, despite what a lot of other people
not
say.
At all.
I love all three movies, but I have to go with the one that brought me into the dance. I have to go with Get Out.
Totally understand. Again, I love that one too. My number 4 is Midsummer. So, I mean, you kind of discussed it earlier, but I'll just add on, like, if you can make a movie that is completely in sunlight and make it that terrifying, you're doing something right.
Yes.
It's another one where you can pick up on a lot of things throughout. It takes you through so many ranges of emotions. It also is very sociological and psychological because it shows a lot about like loss and how that can affect you. It's just, yeah, it is a trip. It is a trip. That's what I will say.
Yeah, it's entirely shot in sunlight.
Yes.
It's entirely, like, using, like, natural light as well.
Yes.
There are some dark scenes, don't get it wrong. Like, it's not completely all in the sun. There's moments where it's not in the sun.
Yeah.
But it's primarily that way. But, it just shows that you can make horror in any way that you want to. And, again, this was another rejuvenation horror movie for me because it showed me that there are still great horror movies out there that are not just about, like, driving a franchise into the ground. You can do everything in one film and do everything that it needs to do.
Yeah, and Florence is an amazing actress. She's probably my favorite actress now. She just does such good work, and I adore her. I adore her.
I figured that would have been Mia Goth at this point.
I mean, she's creeping her way up too. But Florence still has my number 1 spot.
That is completely fair.
So what's your number 3?
My number 3 is also debatable if it should be on this list.
Okay.
Because I know some people might consider it more of a thriller.
Okay.
I consider it a horror movie.
Okay.
And it is also my favorite role that Sir Patrick Stewart has ever done.
Oh, okay.
It is another A24 film. I think it might be the first A24 film that I've ever seen. It might be the first one that we've seen together.
Together, probably.
Yeah, you might have seen some before then. But one possibly the best punk horror movie ever made.
Yes.
Green Room.
Yes.
It is essentially this punk band that is basically kind of just what we talked about when it comes into the modern day of being a musician. No money.
No.
They're not even breaking even. They're losing money with every show that they do. They're basically on the verge of collapse.
Yeah.
But they get invited to play this venue after another gig falls through. And it turns out to be a bar and a club where certain people aren't invited or welcomed.
Yep.
I don't even know if I can say the word on YouTube, but if you watch the movie, you'll completely understand. Sir Patrick Stewart is the leader of this organization. The band decides to play a Dead Kennedy song that was covered by Napalm Death.
Yes.
And if you know what I'm talking about, that kind of gives away into what the movie is about.
Yes.
And it's basically becomes a horror survival film from the rest of that point onward. I love this movie.
Yes.
It's got the perfect humor in the right spots. It's got amazing casting. Unfortunately, the star of the movie, this was his last movie before he sadly passed way too early from, a Final Destination style thing that happened to him.
Yeah.
And again, Patrick Stewart, you know him as just like this nobleman from Star Trek. You might know him from other stuff.
Family Guy.
Family Guy as well. But you never imagine him being this.
Yeah.
And he sold the movie if it wasn't already sold at this point.
Absolutely.
Because he's one of the most terrifying people that I've ever seen in a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I just love everything about it. And I'm so glad we went to see it.
Yeah, I love this movie too. I didn't include it on my list because, like you, I was like, is it horror? Is it thriller? What is it? But absolutely love it. And I understand why it's on. My number number 3 is Suspiria. So I love Dario Argento. He is such an amazing treasure of the horror world. But this movie in particular, it's very artsy, which isn't always my thing. But in this movie, it just works so perfectly. It's about a girl who goes to a dance academy, and well, things aren't quite as they seem there. So that's what I'll give away. But it's creepy, it's beautiful, it's just insane. Yeah.
And we had one of the coolest experiences ever with this movie.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before, but yeah, well, we got to, if you're not familiar with the movie or the band Goblin does the soundtrack to the movie, and we got to see them live while the movie played behind them.
Yeah, they didn't just do like the soundtrack, they did the entire film score.
Yeah.
Like every time they hear like a violin hits or something, or little keyboard notes in there,
yes,
they matched it up perfectly with what's in the movie.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we did miss Goblin a few days ago doing Demons.
Yes.
Which would have been really cool to see.
Oh, definitely.
And of course, they've also done Dawn of the Dead, which I hope they do that again. That'd be really cool to see that way. But Goblin is a very underrated band when it comes to film scores.
Absolutely.
And I'm amazed you like prog rock, because Goblin is a prog rock band.
Well, I like their soundtrack stuff in relation to the movies. I've never listened to other Goblin work, but...
Well, once they figured out what their cash cow was, they kind of just stuck to doing
and
film
it makes
scores.
sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. But this was in my honorable mentions. I have one other honorable mention that I'll list for the end as well.
Yeah.
This came so very, very close, and it is near and dear to me. The only reason it didn't make my list is because I knew it would make hers.
Yeah. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 should be absolutely no shock to anyone, as my favorite style of horror is anthology horror.
Yeah.
And there's so many great movies that have been a part of that, like Tales from the Dark Side, Twilight Zone. VHS has some good movies a part of that.
Yeah.
You introduced me to Trick or Treat last year.
Yes.
Which that was really cool to see that in the movie theater as well, considering that was never released in a movie theater. But again, I had to go with the date that brought me to the dance. And of course, featuring a segment with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson.
Okay.
It is, of course, Creepshow. And it also features Stephen King as well.
Yes.
Who, I think it's like one of only 2 real acting roles that he's ever had in his entire career.
Yeah.
It's this, and I remember he played a semi-driver in another one. Otherwise, he just basically does cameos. But Creepshow is a comic book series, and you take the magic of Stephen King, and you also take the magic of George Romero, and they made this movie come together, and it is my favorite of all the Creepshow movies. It's my favorite anthology horror movie. It's got funny moments, it's got scary moments, it's got moments that feel like it's right from the comic books. And of course, from the people who made Creepshow also did work on Tales from the Crypt.
Yes.
So the main figure of Creepshow does look a lot like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
I mean, that was bound to happen when it comes from the same company.
Oh,
but yeah, I love this movie. It's that perfect, like, 80s silly horror.
Yeah.
But it also has some great aspects about it as well, too. And, like I mentioned with Tales from the Dark Side, that was supposed to be a Creepshow movie, but due to legality, it turned into Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah.
But that also has a really great Creepshow feel and some really great moments in there as well. But all of the Creepshow movies are worth checking out.
Absolutely. Excellent choice.
What about you? Do you enjoy Creepshow?
I do. My number 2 is Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. You knew this was coming.
Oh, well, it's the best one.
It is. I mean, I love the entire Nightmare series, but this is just an extra special one. I mean, of course, there's Dokken on the soundtrack, which doesn't hurt anything, but...
Rockin' with Dokken.
But I love this one. Patricia Arquette is amazing in it. I love the cast of this one. I love the setting of this one. I love everything about this one. It's just...
I'm a wizard!
That's right.
Yes, as I just said, this is the best of all of them. And that includes Freddy vs. Jason, which the soundtrack helped me become a metalhead, a real true metalhead.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the setting of where it takes place. I love it's these teenage kids take on Freddy of all different shapes and sizes. Yeah, if this would have been the last one, I would have been okay with it, because I just love everything about this movie.
Yeah. So what's your number 1? I bet I know what it is.
Do you?
I think I do.
Which one is it?
Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead is my favorite horror franchise of all time.
Yeah.
Anything. That includes the TV shows. Ash vs. Evil Dead is a bona fide classic, even if we do have to finish the final season.
Yes.
I love everything about it. I love all 3 Evil Dead movies in the original trilogy. The first remake, I think I need to watch it again with different glasses on.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting it to be more Ash-centric, which was my fault going into it. Evil Dead Rise, a lot of people crap on it, but I thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
I love it.
Once I realized that it just takes place in the same universe and it's not about the actions of what happened back in 1980, it was very enjoyable and just a really great horror movie.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 1 is of course meant to be a real true horror movie with a couple laughs. Army of Darkness, otherwise known as Evil Dead 3, depending on who you ask, is just slapstick comedy through and through.
Yeah.
But Evil Dead 2 is both.
Yeah.
It's that perfect mixture of horror and comedy. It's basically a remake of Evil Dead 1, in a sense. Like, it takes place after the events of Evil Dead, but it's also kind of canon as the original origin of what happens with Ash as well.
Yeah.
They kind of change a few things around, and it's arguably better for that reason as well, too, because, you know, Ash gets the chainsaw in Evil Dead 2, which is so iconic for him.
Absolutely.
The idea that you can make horror movies just so silly and slapstick while still trying to be scary as well. I mean, of course, it doesn't have the Vines of Thorn, which is in the first movie, and of course, the Black Dahlia Murder made a great Evil Dead song about that. Just this one just makes you laugh as much as it does keep you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
And of course, the ending, which didn't get followed up on for almost a decade, which leads into the events of Army of Darkness. Trying not to give anything away, but it's just so off the wall, the ending to Evil Dead 2. And it just makes Army of Darkness so much sillier. But yeah, Evil Dead 2, if you never watched the original, first I think you should.
Yeah.
But you would also be okay with starting with Evil Dead 2 because it's the real true origin story and you can enjoy Ash's adventures all the way through. What about you for Evil Dead 2?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Evil Dead series, but the first one is definitely always my favorite. While I enjoy comedy and trying with horror or on its own, I'll always kind of stray more toward the horror sides, like strictly. So that's why I like the first one so much, but excellent choice, though.
But he doesn't have the chainsaw in the first one.
I know, but the vines.
The vines. Ardent hatred by Vines of Thorn.
Exactly.
So, I don't know what you're going to pick for number 1 because you already talked about what I thought was going to be your number 1 with Suspiria.
Okay. I mean, I don't think that's going to come as a shock to anyone except for you, apparently, but my number 1 is Candyman.
I had a whole setup I was trying to do here.
Well,
and you interrupted
me. You stopped talking.
I was trying to take a breath for suspense.
What were you going to say? Share with the class.
But there's a classic villain that I know means a lot to you that hits all of the sociological aspects that you love.
Yes.
Who has a remake/sequel that is ridiculously good.
Oh, absolutely.
And produced by Jordan Peele, even though maybe he should have directed it, but, that's a different discussion for a different time.
Yeah.
But it also features the voice, the star of the movie is featured in a video game that I'm currently playing right now.
That's true.
As Venom,
yeah.
Mr. Tony Todd.
Yes.
And I believe that movie would be Candyman.
You were right.
That's what I was trying to do. I went through all of that for nothing, folks. Go ahead, talk about your Candyman.
I will, long-winded mister.
Not the first person who's ever said that.
I know, I'm sure. But I mean, no, I've talked about Candyman plenty on previous episodes as well. But I love Candyman. Oh, I love Candyman. And I love all 3 movies, even though I know the other 2 are not seen as very good to a lot of people, and I understand why.
Like The Crow.
Yeah. But the first one will always be my favorite, though. Tony Todd is amazing. Virginia Madsen is amazing. The story is amazing. It's so deep and sociological and emotion filled, but it's scary and crazy at the same time. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, like Bloody Mary was all the rage with like mirror games and stuff. So like Candyman just went right along with that wave of, that fear as a child and stuff. And oh, it's just so good.
And one of your favorite authors of all time.
Oh yes, based off of Clive Barker material. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I knew it was Candyman, but I was just trying to like do a long-winded gesture.
It's okay. okay. It's okay, Sweet Pea.
But I love this movie as well, too.
Yes.
I'm also of the age where, like, I remember on TNT for Monster Vision,
Yes.
they would always play Candyman all the time.
Yes.
And I would always watch the TV version of it. So I didn't really get the real version of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, whether it was Penn and Teller, whether it was Joe Bob Briggs, I really enjoyed the way that they talked about Candyman throughout everything that they did.
Yeah.
And I was able to appreciate it back then, but I also completely, utterly forgot about it over time until we got together and I started to have that new appreciation. But I'm also the kind of person that might even enjoy the remix sequel a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it just hits so friggin' hard for what we're going through in the world right now.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it just, and it calls back to the original Candyman so perfectly.
Yeah.
And the ending made me cry, so.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've talked about this with music, it's also true of movies. If it can make me cry, I'm gonna rank it pretty high up.
I understand.
So, you know, it's like, I love the original, and of course, one of my favorite lines ever, "Come back!" I always do that, and I don't know why.
I don't know.
But, yeah, that is a very, very fitting choice for your number one.
Thank you. So did you have any honorable mentions?
Yes, I did. I mentioned Suspiria, but I also want to mention another movie that is almost kind of a theme in what I've talked about with my top 10, with some movies where it feels like part of the movie is going one way and then it goes into a different direction. This is a perfect culmination of that.
Okay.
It is, of course, from Mr. Rodriguez, starring George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, and a young Juliette Lewis and Michael Parks, from Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay.
Where the first half is a bank or a robbery gone wrong, and then it turns into a vampire movie. And it's just that perfect, seamless way of, if you have no idea what the movie is about and you watch it for the first time, it's just a complete sucker punch of a movie. And it's got so many great things. Tom Savini, one of the greatest people in horror, is in there, with one of the best characters ever in horror as well. It's got the original Blackula as well. I mean, there's so many great references to old-timey horror of like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Of course, if you love your Cheech and Chong, Cheech Marin plays 3 different roles in this movie, which I find to be incredible.
Yes.
But yeah, it's comedy, it's a crime thriller, and then it turns into straight-up campy horror.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for that. So how about your honorable mentions?
Yeah, so there's so many I could say, but I try to pick ones that I either are newer or newer to me, so that I just haven't had that chance to watch them repeatedly so that they could be on my list. But I feel like after I do watch them repeatedly, they will be on my list. So first up would be Megan.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, we've only seen it the once in theater, but it is...
No, we didn't see it in theater.
Didn't we? Oh, yeah, we watched that one at home.
No,
Sorry.
we watched the unrated version on Peacock.
Yes, that was it. Okay.
And I still feel if we would have watched the PG-13 version, we would have hated it.
I don't know that I would have, but...
I would have.
Well, fickle. Anyways.
Fickle! Okay, go ahead.
It's just so good. It's so good. And I'm pretty sure upon repeated watches, this will like creep up higher on my list. Second, Pearl.
Pearl?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I love X and Pearl, but Pearl I think wins out a little bit more for me because it's just that little bit more psychotic.
Before you continue on, what are your thoughts on Maxine coming out next year?
I'm excited for it. I'm curious where it's gonna go.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm yeah.
I don't even know how it would work, but I'm so chomping at bit for that.
Exactly. And then my final one, not new but newer to me because I've only recently, or not recently, but like I think like a year or so ago I watched it for the first time. But Hereditary.
Ari Aster.
Yes. Yep. Again. Amazing movie, but I've only watched it once so far, so yeah, I need to go back and watch it again and again. So yeah.
Yeah, those are some fantastic choices all the way through, top bottom. And I'd like to think some of mine are pretty good too. But what about you listening to this? Is there any horror movies that we left out? Is there any franchises that we didn't talk about? I'm kind of surprised Puppet Master didn't make your list.
It was
in all
close.
honesty.
It was close.
But yeah, there's so many horror movies out there, but we picked our specific 10 for how we're feeling right now. What are your favorites? Let us know in the comments down below. Solo.
Okay, in our second wave of Halloween goodness this week, we are going to be going over our top 10 Treehouse of Horror segments from The Simpsons.
Yes. If you listened to the show last week when we talked about our favorite TV Halloween episodes, there were some people that were listening to the list wondering, why is there no Simpsons? You're a huge Simpsons fan. You're one of the biggest Simpsons fans out there. How could you possibly not have Treehouse of Horror?
Right.
Well, this is why. I wanted to do like a full segment where we cover all 33 episodes to date. Now, there are some exclusions that we made. We didn't do Thanksgiving of Horror, because that's a Thanksgiving episode. We didn't do Not It, even though that is technically under Treehouse of Horror, it's a full episode. And we also didn't do the Halloween of Horror episode, which is a real canonical Simpsons Halloween episode. The only one they've ever done that is not a part of Treehouse Horror. We went with the individual anthology sects on here. So, you know, those little 6 to 8 minute classic goodness.
Yes.
Before we get into it, how was it for you, like going through all 33 Treehouse of Horrors so far?
It was fun watching them and revisiting them all. I definitely learned what I kind of leaned more towards, and I also realized there's a lot of filler in there too. Not necessarily bad though. I don't think there was any segments that I was like, woof, that was a bad one, you know? They're all enjoyable. It's just some you could definitely tell were more filler.
Yeah, and I definitely know what your taste is, and of course that'll be represented in your top 10 list.
Yeah.
Mine's a little bit more all over, although I kind of noticed that I kind of picked a particular area of my top 10 more than anything else, so there might be some crossover.
Maybe.
There might not. We'll see.
Yeah.
But, so we're going to turn things around here. I went first last time.
Yes.
You're going first this time.
All right.
So I'm the last number one.
Yes.
Because it's my show.
It's your show. So my number 10 is Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace from Treehouse of Horror 6. So this is the one where Willie is Freddy Krueger, and you know me and my Nightmare on Elm Street, so I love this one.
He ran his floor buffer over me. I love this episode.
Yes.
I love what Maggie does in this episode, of course.
Yes.
Probably our collective favorite character is Maggie.
Yeah.
Just a perfect parody of Treehouse of Horror. And of course the legendary Kirk meme, which is all over the internet of, oh, I don't like the idea of Millhouse having 2 spaghetti meals in one day.
Exactly. What's your number 10?
I forgot to put which Treehouse of Horrors each of these are in.
Fine.
But who knows? There might be some crossover, and they might be on yours as well.
Maybe.
But my number 10 is The Terror of Tiny Toon.
Aw.
It is the episode where Bart and Lisa get trapped inside the TV with Itchy and Scratchy. I am a sucker for everything Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah.
Itchy is one of the cutest, most maniacal characters ever made, with his buck teeth and big blue ears. And I just love how the real cartoon violence becomes real.
Yes.
And they get sucked into it. And then one of the really rare appearances of live action in a very, very dated reference to Regis and Kathy Lee in there as well. But yeah, I love this episode. I love the way it ends.
Yeah.
And Scratchy ultimately getting his demise in the Simpsons real world as well.
Yes.
What do you think of that episode?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. My number 9 is The Shinning.
The Shinning.
From Treehouse of Horror 5. So obviously this one is based off The Shining, and it's Homer losing his mind essentially. You know, all work and no play make Homer something something.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do. But it's just hilarious seeing them play those roles and stuff, and it's great.
Mo as the bartender is just so
Perfect.
Yeah, interesting episode. Number 9, I have The Raven.
Okay.
Yes, this was one of the original creepy episodes for me.
Yeah.
Or segments, I guess you could say. Like, one of my first ventures into horror in general was the very first episode of Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah.
Which, of course, back then was the Simpsons Halloween special.
Yes.
Up until episode 13, then it officially became Treehouse of Horror. And then retroactively, they called all of them Treehouse of Horror. But I digest, as you would say.
Yes.
The Raven is basically just the retelling of the poem The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, done by James Earl Jones.
Yes.
And Homer takes the part of the human, and Bart is the Raven.
Quote the Raven. Eat my shorts.
Bart, he says nevermore, and that's all he'll ever say. See, I could just quote everything.
Yes.
But I love this this episode because it's probably the closest to not being comedy and being like the truest to its source. Like it's the most like horror one without trying to be Simpsons-esque. They just plainly do the poem.
Yeah.
And some comedic parts, of course, but you know, I just love that.
I just love Bart as the Raven.
He looks so
this
cute.
little
Like,
pointy head still as a raven bird. It is. My number 8 is Nightmare Cafeteria from Treehouse of Horror 5. So this is the one where the school starts eating children. They just start killing them and using them in their food for the cafeteria, and it's creepy but hilarious and just amazing.
Now it's time to check on the free-range children.
Yes.
Yeah, as I've told you before, this is one of the 2 segments in Treehouse of Horror that ever scared me as a child.
Yes.
The other one, maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't, we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is the one that probably scared me the most.
Yeah.
It was specifically Lunch Lady Doris with the mixer that she's turning all covered in blood.
Yes.
That scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Yeah.
And I love the episode. It's so fantastic. And the ending. Mm-hmm. The ending where it just turns into a Broadway musical. It's just so FU, which I really appreciate when The Simpsons do like an FU ending that you expect it to go one way and then they don't give you what you expect.
Yeah.
I love that. My number 8 is another classic one. A lot of people go back to this one, and for good reason.
Yeah.
It is King Homer.
Okay.
Yes. Basically, King Kong, the original, and Skull Island combined. Homer is, of course, King Kong, and just everything that you remember from the movies basically happens, and then, again, the FU ending at the end, which is so great. But just seeing Homer eat everybody and crush people, he gets up, like, a story or 2 up the Empire State Building. He's, like, 1 foot off the ground before he gets so exhausted and passes out on the ground. And, of course, one of my... so many classic lines, but, like, I heard we're going to Ape Island. Yeah, I wish we were going to Candy Apple Island. Candy Apple Island? What do they got there? Apes, but they're not so big. And then, of course, if you've ever seen the movie 30 Days of Night, they talk about the Waylon Smithers jokes about, what do you think, Smithers? I think women and semen don't mix. We know what you think. And they explain it into great detail near the end of the movie. But, yeah, I'm a sucker for that episode, because I love old-timey monsters, I love classic horror, and The Simpsons just did it justice.
Yeah, I just love seeing Homer as a giant ape. It's hilarious. My number 7 is Starship Poopers. So this is the episode where Maggie loses her baby legs. It's just hilarious. So she is actually the product of Kane. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just funny seeing her as a little space alien.
And of course, well, you know what? I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
My number 7 is actually technically the newest segment of the Treehouse of Horror series. It is Simpsons World.
Yes.
Which is a parody of Westworld.
Yes.
Which is now apparently only available on Tubi to stream, which is so strange how HBO just let that series go, because it was such a great show. Mm-hmm. Basically, you know meme culture, and if you know Simpsons memes, everyone quotes those lines all over and over and over again.
Yes.
And in this episode, real life people actually go to visit Simpsons World and see those classic memes online, all the classic jokes and bits and everything that goes into it. But then the Simpsons are robots that become self-aware.
Yes.
And if you've ever seen Westworld, you kind of know what happens from there. I love it because of all the references that they do, and the grand finale of the entire episode, having to deal with all the different shows that I love in some way, shape, or form, including one we'll be talking about later, which we didn't even know had a new season.
I know.
But yeah, I love this episode.
Yeah, this was very close to making my list, but yeah, it's hilarious. My number 6 is the school bus from Treehouse of Horror 4.
Isn't it the Ghoul Bus?
The Ghoul Bus.
No, it says right there, school bus. And of course, that has one of the greatest wraparounds ever with the Night Gallery parody throughout the entire episode.
Yeah. But this episode is basically based off of the Twilight Zone episode where, well, in the Twilight Zone...
at 20,000 feet.
Yeah, where there's a creature on the wing of a plane. But on here, it's on the side of the bus instead, so...
And who was the man in that episode?
Yeah.
The Shat himself.
Yeah, Star Trek guy.
William Shatner.
That's right. But it's such a throwback then, it does it perfectly, so...
And again, I love the endings of all these episodes because it's actually a really scary ending if you've never seen what happens at the end of that one. Because, again, there's so many great references. I don't want to do that throughout the entire thing and just ruin it for everybody. I'm holding back my references.
I know.
Which is really hard. But my next one up is another one from near that classic era, The Monkey's Paw.
Okay.
I love this episode because, again, it's another Twilight Zone episode that it makes fun of about using a monkey's paw for wishes and all the wishes go wrong.
Yes.
Except for the first one, which I really debate did not go wrong.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's giving anything away. Maggie takes the monkey's paw. You don't hear her, but she sucks on her pacifier, wishing for something.
Yes.
And she gets a new pacifier.
Yeah.
She gets exactly what she wants.
Yeah. It just didn't pan out for other people who thought it was something else.
Yes, but she was the one holding it, and everything was fine. But then another great another great episode with Kang and Kodos showing up, and I think it's a great throwback to the Twilight Zone episode.
Agreed. My number 5 is Bart Simpson's Dracula from Treehouse of Horror 4. So it's totally based off of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Burns is the exact identical Dracula from that movie, which is hilarious. And I feel like this one has a creepy ending too. Like, well, aside from that piece. But yeah, it's just great. It's fun.
And it's also got the Lost Boys in there too.
Yeah.
Which is great. And a couple other vampire-esque things going on is there too. But I'll say my piece about it later. My next one up at number 5 is Starship Poopers.
All right.
I love this episode. Maggie is one of the most underrated characters in The Simpsons.
Yes.
Besides the fact that she's so gosh darn cute.
Yes.
Once you really one of the biggest things I took away from watching Treehouse of Horror all the way through, Maggie kills a lot of people.
She does.
And good on her
she
for
does
doing
what she's
that.
gotta do.
Yeah, and it's just not shooting Mr. Burns. I mean, she knows how to handle her weapons and knows how to unalive people. And this is another episode where she does that as well.
Yes.
She is about to enter those terrible twos, all right, as we find out that Kang is Maggie's real father, and Marge got inseminated by Kang in the back alley of a porno theater.
Yes.
Out of 4 different choices: the backseat of a Camaro, an airplane bathroom, and a friend's wedding. She went with the alley. Of course, near the end of the episode, Jerry Springer gets involved, and some great Jerry Springer references going on there as well too.
Yes.
And of course, just a great Maggie line to end the entire episode, and the whole episode actually. It's just a really fun, cute one, and of course, it has Kang and Kodos.
Yes. My number 4 is The Thing Plus One, or Thing and I.
Yeah, The Thing
and I.
It's based off The King and I.
So this is the one where Bart had a twin named Hugo, and he's up in the attic, and some crazy stuff happens.
Yeah, he gets a plate of fish heads once a week.
Yes, exactly. Delish.
Even though it's not exactly like it, but it's heavily referenced basket case. There's a lot of that goes on there. Although it's different enough, obviously.
Yeah, that's a little bit different, but...
And of course it has that great meme of Hugo looking into a mirror, which is just a frame with nothing in it, and you just see Dr. Hibbert on the other side, and just punches right through the frame and knocks out Hugo. And of course another twist ending, which don't look so shocked once you get to it, but
exactly.
A great segment.
Exactly.
My next one up at number 4 is The Shinning.
Nice.
Of course, I love the whole episode. All of Treehouse of Horror 5 is just fantastic.
Yes.
Willie gets murdered in all 5 in the exact same way with an axe in the back.
Yes.
But The Shinning is just a perfect parody of The Shining. Specifically the movie version, not the book version.
Yeah.
But just Homer going crazy. Every single line from this segment is quotable in some way, shape, or form. And it's one of the classics for a reason.
Absolutely.
And it's just that perfect blend of horror and comedy.
Yes. My number 3 is I Know What You Diddly Diddly Did. From Treehouse of Horror 10. So this is the one where the Simpsons are driving and they hit something and they're not sure what it is, but later on they find out that Ned is a werewolf.
Well, you missed a lot of stuff. They find out immediately that they run over Ned.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and then they set his funeral up for him.
Yes.
They have to pretend that in front of Maude that Ned dies right in front of her, even though he's already dead.
Oh, sorry, I missed that piece.
And then it turns into, obviously, I Know What You Did Last Summer with all the writing on the wall. I know what you did. I know what you did. Mm-hmm. A great Mole line where he sounds so sinister. You're alone. Is this Maude Flanders?
Yes.
This is Homer Simpson. Oh, hey, Homer. I had the wrong number. But yes, at the very end, it turns out that Ned was going on one of his late-night fog walks.
Exactly.
And got bitten by a werewolf and turned into a werewolf himself.
Yes.
So you can't kill the undead, silly.
Yeah. But it's just so creepy seeing Ned as like this evil thing. And then earlier, there's so many funny things with like Homer like holding him up on the roof and stuff. And, hi, Maude, I'm fine.
We got away with murder. I never did like that Wiener Millhouse. No more killing. Or no more murder.
Exactly.
My number 3 is Bart Simpson's Dracula. I love this episode so much. Again, it is just that perfect mixture of Bram Stoker's Dracula from the Martin Scorsese version, The Lost Boys for one specific part, the ultimate FU ending.
Yes.
Where it goes into peanuts, which is just fantastic. But Mr. Burns is the perfect Dracula from the 1991 movie. I think it came out in 91, 92, something like that.
So, yeah.
Yeah, just so perfect in every conceivable way. And just hilarity ensues. It's just, again, it's another classic episode. And there's a lot of reasons why people consider the 5th Treehouse of Horror to be the best one. Mm-hmm. All 3 of them in this episode are classics.
Yes.
And this is just another example of that.
Totally. My number 2 is Clown Without Pity from Treehouse of Horror 3. So this is where they get a trusty doll, and
that's good.
Yeah. he doesn't act good though.
That's bad.
I know, that's good.
That's bad.
But he is not acting the way a doll should act. He's acting awry, and they come to find out it's because the switch on his back is turned to evil.
Another great FU ending.
Yes.
As well. A lot of people would consider it to be like Child's Play.
Yeah.
But it's really more of the Twilight Zone episode with Doll.
Yeah.
Which is more of what they're referencing, but there's something Child's Play in there. Mm-hmm. Interesting choice. Number 2. Number 2 is Citizen Kang.
Okay.
I love this one despite the fact that it's not scary in the least bit. But it is just a great way of like reliving the past of October, November 1996 when things were so much simpler in life.
Yes.
Bill Clinton was about to get reelected, or was it going to be Bob Dole?
Right.
Or did their bodies get snatched by hanging Kodos, and they're the ones that are really Bob Dole and Bill Clinton? I love every single reference in this entire episode, and I love the ending so much. Mm-hmm. The idea about the third-party candidates still holds up today in 2023. And of course, the great line, the close out the entire episode, don't blame me, I voted for Kodos.
Exactly.
Just a perfect political parody.
Yes, agreed. It's hilarious. And my number 1 is E.T. Beethoven. Oh, I love this one.
I had a feeling this would be it.
Love this one. So this is, harkens back to the olden days when there was witch hunts and stuff like that. And they suspect that Marge is a witch, so they push her off a cliff, and lo and behold, she starts flying on her broom. And then she kind of just comes after people, and I love the ending because it shows how Marge and her sisters start scaring people for treats, and that is how Halloween begins, the trick-or-treat.
And the very first caramel cod.
Yes.
I mean, Halloween.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love this episode so much. I had a feeling this one was going to be on there for you, so I didn't do it. And also, Homer constantly accusing Elisa of being a witch.
Yes.
And Bart, too.
Yes.
It's just a great episode, and it's always the ones you least suspect.
Yes.
And it's also great to just look back at history and how stupid we are.
Well, if you fall off there, and if you live, you're a witch, so you're bad. But if you die, then you'll die with your dignity at least,
See you in hell, Seymour. Goodbye, mother. And also, you don't really see it in the version of Disney Plus, but Mrs. Krabappel has a scarlet letter on her for adultery.
Yes.
Which I'm not sure if you ever had to read that in school, but we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a nice little
Yes.
shot as well. But my number one should be absolutely no surprise to you. In fact, you've already talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Clown Without Pity.
Yes.
Yeah, look, as much as I love Itchy and Scratchy, I love Krusty. Every time he squeezes his little horn, the honky honky, I get a giggle. It just, I'm like a trained seal. I laugh every time that I hear him do it. And I just love this episode for all the references that have happened over the, that's bad. That's good. That's bad. And all that. I love the idea of the Krusty doll trying to unalive Homer. Homer running naked out of the bathtub and Patty's, there goes the last lingering thread of my heterosexuality. And of course that FU ending. There's your problem. This doll's set to evil.
Yes.
And then he ends up in a great relationship with Malibu Stacy at the end of it. And it's just, Krusty looks so cute as a doll, and then he's just so murderous. That's kind of the ideal of, like, Puppet Master. It's like they can look cute in their kind of ugly sort of way.
Yeah.
But they are very, very evil.
It's true.
And yeah, everything could be interchangeable.
Yeah.
I could honestly make an argument for every single Treehouse of Horror segment, except this one.
Yeah.
This one will always be number one to me.
I understand. Yeah.
I love it so very, very much.
Yes.
So, how about you? What's your favorite Treehouse of Horror segment? Do you have a favorite Treehouse of Horror episode in general, where you include all three segments? Do you hate The Simpsons? Have you stopped watching? All this and more, why don't you let us know down in the comments below.
All right, up next we have a little bit of TV chatter. We noticed yesterday that a new season of Big Mouth came out on Netflix.
Yes, season 7, which is also what I was referencing in Simpsons World for the Treehouse of Horror segments, because there's a Big Mouth world as well in the universe. Saw absolutely nothing for this.
Yeah.
Had no idea it even existed until it just randomly popped up on Google TV.
Yeah.
And that sucks, because I really would have loved to have been prepared a little bit more for it.
Yeah.
But it's also great, because this was a fantastic season.
Absolutely.
Not as many gross out moments, although there are some moments that...
There are some, but
well, that's going to happen with every single season. But this one feels a little more matured.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Because...
They are in the process of transitioning to high school during this one.
Yes, they graduate middle school, and in the very last episode, you see them in their first day of high school.
Yes.
Which, the ending of the last episode...
Hilarious.
But of course, the whole season is great, and it deals a lot with, like, your mental well-being as well. Like, there's so much about anxiety and depression and self-doubt and all of these things, rather than just focusing on the sexual stuff.
Yeah.
They focus a lot more on the mind this season.
Yeah, and also just, like, transitioning to a new school and stuff, like, the idea of fitting in, where do they fit in, how are they going to get by in their day-to-day life, and, just kind of those things that even affect you into adulthood, really, I mean.
And don't get me wrong, again, the gross out stuff is there, the nudity is there, there's all these things that you expect from Big Mouth, and more.
And more.
A couple of things that you were really shocked by, specifically, I think it was the second episode that you were taken abass by. Like, I had to, like, pause it for a couple seconds, be chicken soup.
Oh, yeah. They do a line where it smells something, I can't remember what they're even talking about, but they say that something smells like if chicken soup had BO. And they just painted such a picture.
Yeah, I had to pause it so you could get your composure back.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it was a great season, although unfortunately it's the penultimate season, as I've learned. Season 8 will not only make this the final season of Big Mouth, when they just get to be freshmen in high school.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen them go through college,
I know.
or college maybe, but at least high school.
Yeah.
Especially since they're doing this. But it's also, sadly, because it really is a reflection on Netflix, this is the longest running scripted show Netflix Netflix has ever done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At 8 seasons and 10 episodes apiece.
Yeah.
Which is not saying a lot considering Netflix has almost been around for 2 decades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, with that, I thought it was really fun. If you enjoy your gross out humor and the joys of puberty that you want to relive again,
yes,
you should check out Big Mouth. It's not going to be for everyone, but if you are sick in the head like we are, I think you'll find something to really enjoy about it.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed Human Resources as well, there were a few characters from there that appeared in the season as well.
Oh, right, you're from the other show.
Right. Which sadly that is no more also, so.
Yeah. And we didn't even know that until we finished watching, so, it's just like, it felt like it kind of landed really flat. Like, you would, and that's the one good thing that's going to happen with the last season of Big Mouth is they know ahead of time that it's the end, so they'll be able to properly wrap up everything.
Yeah.
Although hopefully it's not like with BoJack Horseman where the last few episodes feel severely rushed.
Yeah.
And even though the last episode was great, everything leading up to it just felt way too rushed.
Yeah.
But wrestling was wrestling.
Yeah. We don't even talk about that. Just move on.
Well, again, like if you check out the show for the wrestling segments, I think they're going to be a lot more sporadic coming up.
Most likely.
Again, there's rumors that AEW is going to be on Max next year, and that might be the only time that we watch AEW is for the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Because it'll just cost us $10 a month instead of the $50 per pay-per-view.
Right.
And of course, with them going to one pay-per-view a month, if it wasn't for Max, that would never ever happen.
No.
So everything feels diluted and everything. So if you're looking for the wrestling stuff, maybe we'll talk about stuff fast. But the AEW talk is going to be winding down in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And also, as of us recording this, there will be a new Simpsons and Bob's Burgers. It's not the Halloween episodes.
No.
I believe that's coming next week. Or, as we've learned from Treehouse of Horror, some of them end up in November because of baseball. So we'll see what happens with that. We're most likely going to watch that tomorrow on Hulu, but I think it'll still be fun to watch those.
Absolutely.
At least we have some enjoyment in TV left.
Yes.
All right, so getting into the gaming news and stuff that we've been enjoying, I'm going to let you start this one off because there's a lot to talk about with what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So what's going on in the dating simulator world?
So Love Island didn't have an official episode this week, but they put out like a little like additional info about so we to recap from last week, we got done with Casa Amor and we came back to the main villa. We were brought back by one of the guys. And so they put out a separate little not really episode, but tidbit, whatever, about like the girls that are back at the main villa. However, it's behind a paywall, so I did not pay to see it. So no new episode of that till next week.
Did you look on Reddit to see what it was? Because someone had to have paid
last
for it.
time I looked, it wasn't up, but I haven't looked in a while. So and then Love is Blind. So the last week it was like a super short little episode that like was nothing basically. And now this one, all of a sudden, it was like super long. Like we literally just, so if you've never watched Love is Blind, the show before, like you meet people through these pods without seeing them face to face. You get engaged, then you're brought off to like Mexico or wherever tropical location for like a few days, and then you come back to the real life where you're put up in an apartment together for 2 or 3 weeks, I believe, and then you go to the altar and you either say I do or I don't. Well, like last week it was our first day or second day back at the apartment, and now all of a sudden this week, like the hosts of the show show up at the apartment and they're like, things are getting rushed, so the wedding's actually tomorrow instead. So it cuts out like everything. I mean, you were only like in the like tropical location for like one episode or 1.5 episodes, and now like you're only at the apartment for an episode, and all of a sudden it brings you to the wedding. And like it's crazy. Like everything is like rushed, and it's just so terribly written, and it is disappointment. I'm still gonna play it to the end because I'm this far in, but like, this game company does not know what they're doing.
Or maybe Netflix is telling them to do a rush job on it. I mean, there's a lot of things that could go into it.
No, because Too Hot to Handle is under Netflix too, and that show is amazing. Like the game for the show was amazing. Like, so it's the gaming company.
Speaking of amazing, I'm amazed that you still haven't watched that dating show on Max.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, Naked Attraction.
Man. Yeah, I gotta do that. Well, I'm almost done with Love is Blind now, the most recent season on Netflix. So I gotta finish that up first, but then yes, I'll move over to that.
Well, when I hear you laugh about the schlongs, then I'll know. That's German for snake. That is German for snake.
Look at the schlong.
I'll know you're watching.
Yes. So how about you? I mean, you haven't really been playing anything, have you?
Well, according to some people, I haven't been playing a game at all. I've just been watching a movie on the PS5.
You can hear my eye roll.
Yes. Of course, I am picked up immediately at 11 p.m. Central back on Thursday. I got my first touch into Spider-Man 2.
Spiderman.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
That's not the official title, but you know it is.
Yes.
It's everything that the first game was and more. In the first game, you go through all of basically Manhattan. In this game, you also get to go see Brooklyn and Coney Island and all these other parts. So I can only imagine in the third game, all of New York City will be available.
Yes.
I also imagine that'll be a PS6 game, with the way things are going.
Yeah.
But there's so many great villains in this one. I love the story that's going on so far. I have not gotten to the Tony Todd part.
Yeah.
Which is not a spoiler because that was the very first trailer had Tony Todd, so that's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
But I'm getting closer to it. I know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everything feels so fluid. The fighting is fun. Swinging around New York is always a blast. I love the way it looks. And I know it gets you sick. So you haven't been able to enjoy it the way that I have.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're not swinging around, then it looks beautiful. It looks amazing. When you swing around, I can't watch most of the time because it makes me a little woozy dizzy. But I do listen in while I'm playing on my phone, and I'm really enjoying the story with it. So
the J. Jonah Jameson podcasts are always great.
Yes.
And of course, your new boyfriend is in the game.
Yes.
Haunted by the enemy tonight.
Yo, Craven. Oh,
Craven the Hunter.
Move over, Toki Wartooth.
Yeah, you didn't even really know about Craven the Hunter.
No.
And even the song from the Power Paladin album, you probably thought was just fine.
Yeah.
But then once you saw Craven the Hunter in all of his glory,
yes,
it took you all of 15 seconds to go yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, he can hump me anytime.
But yes, I am not through the game. Some of my friends and peers online have finished the game, but
overachievers.
But well, I used to be this way. I told you this many times, but I haven't mentioned it on here. I still remember the days of driving to Walmart a half hour away from me at midnight to pick up Grand Theft Auto 4. And I played that game all the way through. I did not stop. I did not sleep. I only stopped to go to the bathroom and to eat.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember that because that was, as I was playing that was also when Artie got fired from the Howard Stern show. Because I was listening to Sirius XM as I was playing.
Yeah.
And I heard the entire fight happening as I was playing. But, in the world of a 35-year-old, I got some priorities that are going on now. So I've only been able to play a couple hours at a time since... I only played the opening mission on that Thursday.
Yeah.
I played 2 hours on Friday. Yesterday, I did play a couple more hours than that.
Yeah.
But before I shut off the PS5, it said I've only played 7 hours. Which, me 10, 15, 20 years ago, I'd be so disappointed in myself for not finishing the game all the way through.
Yeah.
But I'm also enjoying it more. I'm doing all the side missions. I'm just trying to let it all bask in.
Yeah.
And plus, I got some stuff that's coming up for the week ahead, so, I haven't been able to play it as much as I want to, but I'll also get to enjoy it just a little bit more. But I will say, one of the best games of 2023.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and games are expensive these days, so get your time in with it,
Well, it's gonna have that replay value.
That's true, but still.
Unfortunately, New Game Plus is not available right now.
Okay.
It should be available by the end of the year.
Okay.
And if you are someone that's not familiar with that, New Game Plus is where you go through the whole story again, but you get to keep all of everything you unlocked for the first game. And that also means that the enemies are much harder, and depending on the game, they might add some stuff into New Game Plus that's not in the original run. So you have more of that replay value that's going on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we got the deluxe version, so it's $80. I if I finish it in the next hour, that means that we got $10 an hour for that. So I'm going to try to make it last a little bit longer than that. But
it'll last you for a month.
Well, this is the kind of game, because it is single player, that I want to platinum.
Yes.
Because I don't do multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't have any friends that do multiplayer. It's a whole thing, but I like stories.
Yeah.
I like single player games.
Exactly.
So this is one I'm going to try to platinum. And even if I can't do it now, I might wait till New Game Plus. I haven't even looked at the trophies yet. I want to see what that's all about. But yeah, one of the best games of the year.
Absolutely.
And I wish you could play it.
I know. It is what it is. Okay, finally, we got a little bit of music talk. So there's a couple things that I know we checked out together. So you introduced me to The Monarch, which is a project from Chris Clancy, formerly of
Mutiny Within.
Mutiny Within, yep.
And I don't know if Wearing Scars is still going, but they have one album.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed what I heard from them. Like, it's a mix of like hardcore but clean stuff over it, and his clean vocals are just amazing. So it won me over.
I should also add that it also features past and present members of Malevolent Creation, Soulfly, and Static X.
What a mix.
It's a very strange mix, but when you listen to it,
it works. It works. And we didn't know that apparently they had another album before. They're not a new band. Like, they're newer, I should say.
Yeah, their sophomore album is coming out next month.
Yes.
And we're going to have to check out both albums.
We are. And then we also checked out the new album from Elm Street.
Yes, and I don't know how to feel about it.
I don't either.
There's parts I enjoy, and there's parts I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
What is it for you?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like you said. I mean, there are songs that I was like, oh yeah, this is good. This is Elm Street. Then there was other songs I was like, I mean, not bad, but it's not previous Elm Street. So I don't know. I need another listen, I think.
I think the biggest thing is that the songs are way longer than what Elm Street normally does.
That is true.
The first song is 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Which, one of your favorite songs of all time is around 11, 12 minutes with Avantasia, Let the Storm Descend Upon You.
Yes.
But it's got to hold your attention the whole time.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of lulls that go on within it. Just a lot of really quiet moments that don't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
I feel like if you would have cut those parts out, it just would have felt way better.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not sure if this is like a concept album or something like that,
be.
so maybe there's a point to it.
Yeah.
But just like from the first listen and not knowing much about it, it just, maybe another listen will do the trick, but like right now, I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah, I get you. Anything else you've checked out?
Well, another one that we checked out is the new single from Dragon Force.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The Power of Triforce, which is totally them ripping off Righteous Fury from Power Paladin.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the whole, I mean, Mark Hudson does look like Link, first of all. I didn't realize how much that he looks like him.
Does.
But if you like Dragon Force being fast, this is not the song for you. It's just a very mid-tempo song. There's some solos in there, sure, but it's not, if you like the fast, over-the-top Dragon Force, I almost feel like that's at an end now.
Yeah.
And, of course, Herman Lee, the YouTube influencer nowadays, it's like, you can really tell he's in charge of the band now.
Yeah.
If he wasn't already, like, there's, like, no doubt about it now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll take Power Paladin and Righteous Fury over this one any day of the week.
Yeah.
And it's about the same idea. It's like the same Zelda story as well. Like, at least in the Power Paladin version, they do the original Nintendo theme as a part of the guitar solo.
Yeah.
You didn't see Dragon Force do that.
No.
Yeah, I'm just... Treat Zelda right. Treat Link right. That's all I ask.
Yes.
The power of the Triforce.
Yes.
And the power of the Keep.
Exactly.
No interviews this week, despite how I thought there was going to be interviews this week, but that did not happen. But there has been some new stuff that I've been checking out as well, too. The brand new album from Temperance just came out back on Friday, which is an incredible album. Kristen Starkey is now the lead female vocals of the band, and she has an impeccable voice and one of the best vocalists in power metal. For anyone not familiar, she is married to the keyboardist of Twilight Force, so it's like they got a power metal couple going on there.
Yes.
Thoroughly enjoy that album immensely. Wayfarer has their brand new album American Gothic, which is kind of like that North American black metal sound. Has a lot of great Americana, Western kind of feels and guitars, but they also match it with like black and death metal at times and goth rock, and and all these other things. Like, it's the biggest departure the band has ever had in terms of sound.
Yeah.
Like, they started off more as a very, like, traditional folk metal band, and now they're incorporating more North American folk metal into it. And I'm really digging it. And I also didn't realize this, but a couple members of Wayfarers also in the band Blood Incantation, which is over-the-top technical death metal, and, of course, their last release was all synthesizer.
Wow.
So, there's impeccable range going on with
Yeah,
everyone involved. A band that I really think you need to check out, a band called Elegy of Madness. Very gothic symphonic power metal.
Yeah.
Which would be right up your alley with very mystique vocals and everything. I think that'd be something you would absolutely enjoy. And an album that really, really took me by surprise, that also just came out on Friday, is the new album from Blood Red Hourglass with How's the Heart. This album is another huge departure for the band, who were so much more into the melodic death metal scene, focusing way more on the death metal than melody for a lot of times. Sometimes getting into doom territories. This time, they go way more commercial sounding. There is more clean vocals than ever before, a lot more catchy moments that you would hear like on Top 40 Rock Radio, which is very shocking for a band like this, but it's also their catchiest album they've ever made. And I mean that in the best way possible. This one, every time I listen to it, it just gets better and better to me. I think this is one that I think you would thoroughly enjoy as well.
Yeah.
And with that, I don't want to give away too much of what will show up on the show next week. So I think this is a good time to end the show. And I want to thank you all so very much for sticking around this nearly 2-hour show. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
Of course.
And yeah, it was great being able to talk about all this. Next week, what do we have involved for the Halloween-y stuff?
Yeah, so we will be talking about our top 10 songs for Halloween that came out this year. So get you into a little new music and kind of prep for Halloween at the same time. And we may come up with something else as well, but that's what we got for right now.
And, well, for the Halloween segments, but also next week, we will be talking about the top 10 albums of October 2023 as chosen by yours truly. And, of course, we'll be going over every single album, and you'll be hearing the real thoughts of the Metal Faerie as well. And, of course, any albums that she might have enjoyed.
Yes.
But I have a big feeling that some of them will already be on my list, but we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
But, yeah, let us know in the comments down below what you thought of the show, anything we should add, anything we should get rid of, anything from this show. Yeah, let us know. And, of course, on social media, with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, and Blue Sky.
Yes.
And until next week, for the Metal Faerie, this is Josh Runquist saying, see ya.